HarperCollins presents The Murder Game. Play Puzzles in the Golden Age by John Curran. Read by Gerry O'Brien. Introduction. The Game's Afoot. The Golden Age puzzle mystery that can trace its origins to at least the 1920s in the work of writers such as Agatha Christie, Dorothy L or John Dickson Carr has been at best neglected, at worst dismissed as insignificant or complacent. Colin Watson's Snobbery with Violence, 1971, considered 9 out of 10 detective stories shoddy and derivative. Their characters wooden, asinine, surly, or sinister, the world they inhabit self-contained and never-changing. The violence itself somehow conformist, limited, unreal, with an air of tennis club amateur dramatics pervading throughout. In The Perfect Murder, 2000, David Lehman saw the classic whodunit as set in a place that runs on its own clocks, able to keep the world at large from encroaching on its privileged boundaries, and whose characters have all the time in the world on their hands and the plain need for the sort of jolly amusement that a well-executed murder can be sure to provide. In an attempt to re-evaluate the literary delights engendered by them, Susan Rowland's From Agatha Christie to Ruth Rendell, 2001, reconsiders the output of Agatha Christie, Dorothy L Sayers, Marjorie Allingham, Nao Marsh, P.D. James, and Ruth Rendell. She notes the inverse relationship between their enormous popularity and serious critical acclaim, and disputes the dismissive reaction to most of these authors as unproblematically conservative. Writing specifically of the first novel of one of those authors, Marsh's A Man Lay Dead, 1934, Joanne Drayton, Marsh's biographer, describes its characters finding themselves trapped inside a game, inside a house, until the murderer confesses, thus neatly encapsulating what many commentators view as defining elements of the Golden Age detective novel. In studies of detective fiction, particularly of the interwar Golden Age, references to the game, playing the game, and fair play appear regularly. More recently, Schaub notes that many scholars of detective fiction have noted the playful quality of Golden Age mysteries when contrasted with the darker crimes of today's authors. Despite almost universal agreement among commentators and historians on the ludic qualities of Golden Age detective fiction, however, such references are typically brief. Comparatively little extended analysis of that aspect of the genre has been conducted. Even before the conventions of the puzzle form had been formalized, the American detective novelist Carolyn Wells employed a ludic analogy as early as 1913 in The Technique of the Mystery Story, the first full-length survey of the genre, when she asserted that reader and writer sit down to a game, as it were, with the odds, of course, altogether on the latter's side. The first book-length British survey, H. Douglas Thompson's Masters of Mystery, A Study of the Detective Story, 1931, was confident in a section called The Rigours of the Game, that the average reader has a very definite idea that the author should play the game with them, and he is instantly up in arms if the canons of fair play are violated. Thompson's reference to fair play may have been occasioned by the appearance of self-imposed rules of detective fiction, formulated in 1928-29 by Ronald Knox in Britain and by S.S. Van Dyne in America, both of which are considered in detail later in this book. Later, Sutherland Scott's Blood in Their Ink, The March of the Modern Mystery Novel, 1953, described C. Daly King's Obelisks en route, 1934, as the high watermark of this delightful game of hide-and-seek. In the same year as Julian Simmons's model assessment of the genre Bloody Murder, 1972, Eric Rotley, in The Puritan Pleasures of the Detective Story, a personal monograph, asserted that some readers find the same satisfaction in detection that they find in doing a demanding crossword puzzle.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?